I never expected to say I do in a $50 thrift store dress while my mother-in-law watched in horror from the front row. My wedding day, the day every girl dreams about, mine turned into a nightmare at the hands of the woman who would become my mother-in-law, but I made sure she'd remember it forever. My name is Charlotte Reed, soon to be Charlotte Blackwood. At least that was the plan. I'd spent 18 months planning the perfect wedding to the love of my life, James Blackwood. Everything was set: the venue, a beautiful lakeside garden; the guests, our closest friends and family; the dress, a stunning lace gown I'd fallen in love with at first sight. That dress meant everything to me. I'd saved for months, working extra shifts at the hospital where I work as a nurse. I'm not usually materialistic, but this was different. The intricate lace pattern reminded me of my grandmother's wedding dress. She had passed away the year before, and wearing something that connected me to her meant the world. The night before our wedding, I stayed at my parents' house, tradition and all that. My dress hung proudly on the back of my childhood bedroom door. Mom had helped me steam out every wrinkle. It was perfect. Then my phone rang. It was my future mother-in-law, Diane Blackwood. "Charlotte, dear, I forgot to give you your something borrowed. It's a family heirloom. I'd like to drop it off tonight." I should have said no. I should have told her to bring it tomorrow, but I wanted to make a good impression. Diane had always been difficult, cold, critical of everything I did. But she was James' mother, and I was determined to build a relationship with her. "Of course, Diane. That's so thoughtful." She arrived 30 minutes later. Mom let her in while I was in the shower. When I came downstairs wrapped in my bathrobe, Diane was sitting in our living room, sipping tea my mom had made. "Charlotte?" She smiled tightly. "I brought you this." She handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a delicate pearl bracelet. "It's beautiful," I said sincerely. "It's been worn by Blackwood brides for generations," she said. "James' grandmother wore it. I wore it. Now it's your turn." For a moment, I felt a connection with her. Maybe she was finally accepting me. "Would you like to see my dress?" I offered impulsively. Her eyes lit up. "I'd love to." I led her upstairs to my bedroom. As I opened the door, I felt a surge of pride seeing my beautiful gown. "It's interesting," Diane said flatly. My heart sank. The lace reminds me of my grandmother's dress. Well, I'm sure James won't mind." She checked her watch. "I should go. Big day tomorrow." After she left, I went back upstairs to hang up the bracelet with my dress. That's when I noticed something on the hem, a small dark spot. I leaned closer. It was red wine. My heart stopped. I frantically examined the dress and found more spots scattered across the skirt, small, deliberate drops. Someone had sprinkled wine on my wedding dress. Diane, it had to be. I called James immediately, sobbing. "Your mother ruined my dress. Char, slow down. What happened?" I explained everything: the visit, the bracelet, the wine. "Are you sure it was her? Maybe it was already there?" "James, I've been obsessing over this dress for months. I would have noticed. Your mother did this." Silence. Then, "I'll talk to her." But I knew it wouldn't help. The damage was done. My perfect dress was ruined, and my wedding was less than 24 hours away. I cried for hours. Mom tried to help, dabbing at the stains with various remedies, but nothing worked. The red wine had set into the delicate lace. The dress was unwearable. At midnight, I sat on my bed, surrounded by tissues, when my phone buzzed. It was James. "She denies everything, says she never went near your dress." "Of course she did." "James, who else could it have been? She was the only person who came over." "Maybe it happened before, or maybe your mom accidentally—" "Stop. Just stop." I couldn't believe he was defending her. "Your mother has hated me from day one. She's never wanted us to get married." "That's not true. She's just protective." I hung up. For the first time since we got engaged, I questioned whether I should marry into this family at all. Morning came too quickly. My bridesmaids arrived, excited and chattering, until they saw my red-rimmed eyes and the damaged dress. "What happened?" my best friend Megan gasped. I told them everything. That witch! Megan fumed. We need to fix this. Now! But how? It was 8 a.m. on a Saturday. The ceremony was at 2 p.m. No bridal shops would have anything ready in time. That's when Megan snapped her fingers. The thrift store on Main Street, they have a vintage section. It's not ideal, but it was our only option. We piled into her car and raced downtown. The store had just opened. We frantically searched through racks of secondhand clothes until there it was. A simple white dress. No lace, no beading, nothing special. Just plain white satin with a modest neckline and A-line skirt. It was $50. It's better than nothing, I said, fighting back tears. We bought it, along with a cheap veil and some costume jewelry to dress it up. Back at home, Mom made quick alterations. The result was fine. Not the dress of my dreams, not even close. But I could get married in it. As I stood in front of the mirror, I made a decision. Diane Blackwood would not ruin my wedding day. In fact, I had a better idea. I called James. I'm still marrying you today, but we need to talk before the ceremony. At the venue, I arranged to meet James in a private room. When he saw me in the simple white dress, confusion crossed his face. What happened to your dress? Ask your mother. I showed him photos of the wine-stained lace gown. Charlotte, I'm so sorry. I talked to her again this morning. She swears she didn't do it. James, I need you to believe me. If we're going to start our life together, I need to know you're on my side. He looked torn. I do believe you, but she's my mother. And I'm about to be your wife. I took a deep breath. Here's what's going to happen. During the ceremony, when the minister asks if anyone objects to our union, I'm going to tell everyone what your mother did. His eyes widened. You can't do that. I can and I will, unless you stand up to her, right now. James stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded. Wait here. He left the room. Through the window, I watched him march across the garden to where his mother sat, already in position for the ceremony, looking smug in her expensive blue dress. I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw her face change from confusion to anger to something like fear. When James returned, his expression was grim but determined. It's done. She admitted it, said she was trying to test you, to see if you were resilient enough to be a Blackwood. He shook his head in disgust. I told her she has two choices. She can publicly apologize to you during the reception, or she can leave now and not be part of our lives. What did she choose? She's staying. Said she'll apologize. I nodded, satisfied but not convinced. We'll see. The ceremony began. I walked down the aisle in my $50 thrift store dress, head held high. James waited at the altar, looking at me with such love that for a moment I forgot about the dress drama. This was still our day. From the corner of my eye, I could see Diane in the front row, her face a mask of composure. But I knew better now. The minister began the traditional service. When he reached the part about objections, I felt my heart race. If anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. A tense silence fell. I looked directly at Diane, daring her to say something. She stared back, her lips pressed into a thin line. The moment stretched. The minister looked uncomfortable. James squeezed my hand. Very well, the minister finally said. Let us continue. We exchanged vows and rings. When James said, I promise to always be on your side, I knew he meant it more than ever. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. As James leaned in to kiss me, I whispered, I love you, but this isn't over. The reception was held in a beautiful tent by the lake. During dinner, James clinked his glass, signaling for everyone's attention. Before we continue celebrating, my mother has something she'd like to say. All eyes turned to Diane. She stood slowly, her face flushed. I want to apologize to Charlotte. Her voice was strained. I made a terrible mistake last night. I damaged her wedding dress. Gasps echoed around the room. I have no excuse for my behavior. I was worried about losing my son. She looked at me. I'm truly sorry, Charlotte. I nodded, accepting her apology, but not quite ready to forgive. Later, as James and I danced our first dance, he whispered, I'm so proud of you. Most people would have called off the wedding. I didn't marry your mother, I married you. The night continued. I danced, laughed, celebrated with our guests, but something still didn't feel right. Diane's apology had seemed forced, insincere, and the damage was already done. I'd gotten married in a $50 thrift store dress instead of my dream gown. As the evening wound down, I slipped away to the bridal suite to freshen up. When I opened the door, I found Diane standing by the window. What are you doing here? I asked, instantly on guard. I wanted to speak with you privately. She turned to face me. My apology earlier was difficult for me. I noticed. You have to understand, James is my only child. His father left when he was young. It's always been just the two of us. That doesn't excuse what you did. No, it doesn't. She surprised me by agreeing. I've always been protective of him. When he brought home girls before, I could see they weren't right for him. But you, she sighed, you're different. He loves you in a way I've never seen before. So you tried to sabotage our wedding? That makes no sense. I thought if you couldn't handle a little setback like a damaged dress, you wouldn't be strong enough for the challenges of marriage. She shook her head. It was stupid and cruel. But seeing you today, walking down that aisle with your head high in that simple dress, I realized I was wrong about you. I wasn't sure if I believed her. You hurt me, Diane, not just by ruining my dress, but by lying about it, by making James doubt me. I know. And I'm truly sorry. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. This won't fix everything, but it's a start. Inside was a check for an amount that made my eyes widen. What's this for? A new dress, for your 1-year anniversary. We can have a vow renewal, do it properly. I stared at the check, then at her. Was this another manipulation, or a genuine attempt to make amends? I don't know if I can trust you, I said honestly. You have no reason to, but I hope you'll give me the chance to earn your trust. She moved toward the door. For what it's worth, you look beautiful today. The dress doesn't matter. What matters is how happy you've made my son. After she left, I sat on the edge of the bed, turning the check over in my hands. Part of me wanted to tear it up. Another part recognized it as an olive branch. When James found me, I showed him the check and explained what his mother had said. What do you think? He asked. Do you believe her? I'm not sure, but I'm willing to give her one chance. Just one. He kissed my forehead. That's more than fair. We rejoined our guests for the final dances of the evening. As James twirled me around the floor, I caught sight of Diane watching us from the sidelines. When our eyes met, she gave me a small tentative smile. I didn't smile back. Not yet. But I gave her a nod, a beginning. The next morning, as we prepared to leave for our honeymoon, a delivery arrived at our hotel room. It was a large box with a card attached. What's this? James asked. I opened the card first. Charlotte, I know this doesn't make up for what I did, but I hope it shows my sincerity. I found a dress restoration specialist who worked through the night. It's not perfect, but perhaps someday you'll wear it for a special occasion. With deepest regrets, Diane. Inside the box, carefully wrapped in tissue paper, was my original wedding dress. The wine stains were barely visible now, just faint shadows on the lace. It had been professionally cleaned and restored. I ran my fingers over the familiar fabric, emotions swirling. The dress no longer represented my perfect wedding day. That moment had passed, but perhaps it could represent something new. The beginning of a complicated but potentially meaningful relationship with my mother-in-law. 6 months later, we hosted a dinner at our new home. Diane was among the guests. As she helped me clear the dishes, she noticed a framed photo on our wall. Our wedding picture. Me in the simple thrift store dress, James in his suit, both of us radiantly happy. You look beautiful, she said softly. Thank you. I hesitated, then added, I'm wearing the lace dress for our anniversary dinner next month. James is taking me to that new restaurant downtown. Surprise flickered across her face, followed by cautious hope. That sounds lovely. Later that night, after everyone had left, James pulled me close. You and my mother seemed almost friendly tonight. We're working on it, I said. She's trying. So am I. I'm glad. He kissed me gently. You know, when you walked down the aisle in that thrift store dress, I'd never been prouder. You showed everyone what really matters. What's that? That it's not about the dress or the venue or any of that stuff. It's about choosing each other no matter what. I smiled, thinking about how our wedding day had turned out so differently than I'd planned. The dress had been all wrong, but the marriage? That was turning out just right. 1 year later, we renewed our vows in an intimate ceremony. I wore my restored lace dress. Diane sat in the front row again, but this time there was no smugness, only quiet support. During the reception, she approached me with a small gift box. For your first anniversary, she said. Inside was the pearl bracelet she'd given me the night before our wedding. I had it engraved, she explained. On the inside of the clasp were the words, Family is worth fighting for. I slipped it onto my wrist. Yes, I agreed. It is. Sometimes the strongest bonds form after they've been tested by fire, or in my case, red wine. My mother-in-law destroyed my wedding dress the night before my ceremony, but during the vows, I chose love over revenge. And in doing so, I gained not just a husband, but eventually, a mother-in-law who learned to respect me. That $50 thrift store dress now hangs in our closet next to my restored lace gown. I keep them both as reminders that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come from unexpected places.